and the latest gossip from the royal ward. As always, I'm amazed at Ophalo's ability to keep up an inane conversation almost single-handedly, with an occasional assist from Ridatha or pious interjection from Narago. You'd think that he'd eventually have to acknowledge that important things were going on outside the high brick wall that surrounds the garden. Isoka pays him a lot of money to pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist, and he's good at it. Or maybe it's Ridatha's presence that makes things awkward. After all, it's her people that we're getting ready to go to war with. The only interesting moment comes, oddly enough, from the supplicator's carping. His duties require him to return to the Grand Temple in the royal ward on certain holy days, and apparently traffic there has slowed to a crawl.
"I waited nearly an hour," Narago says with a sniff, "in my ceremonial robe, which is stifling, and when we finally reached the temple drive, it was blocked by a gang of miscreants trying to grab everyone's attention." "What did they want?" Ridatha says, as she methodically removes bones from her fish. "What the lower orders always want," Narago says. "To enjoy the fruits of the Empire without having to pay their fair share or fight to defend it."
Maybe they just don't understand why defending the Empire means people have to die on some island 1,000 miles from here. I mean to mutter this under my breath, but it comes out louder than I intended, and Narago looks at me sharply.
"Defending the Empire," he says, "means defending the Empire's interests and the Emperor's honor."
Small honor in being chained to an oar for 20 years, I say. Narago reddens.
"Perhaps you'd prefer the Jayashtani sailed into Kahnzoka and put us all to the sword." "That is enough," Ophalo says. "These are not subjects for the ears of an innocent child."
Narago harumphs, but gives way. He glances at Ridatha suspiciously.
"Perhaps some more study of the history of Jayashtani aggression against the Empire is in order."
"Of course, supplicator," the tutor says, lowering her head. Wonderful. I manage to keep my sarcasm to myself, and the rest of the talk is determinedly trivial. Eventually, finally, the fruit course comes, and I'm released from this low-rent torture. I gobble a handful of grapes for form's sake, and get up as fast as my kizun and decorum will allow.
"My lady," Ophalo says, "a pair of musicians arrived this morning and asked for the honor of playing for you. Would you hear them? They come well recommended."
"No, thank you," I tell him, with just the right inclination of my head to indicate apology to an inferior. "I'm feeling poorly tonight. I think I'll go to bed early. But please, have these players perform for the staff, with my thanks." Ophalo's dark eyes watch me thoughtfully, and he strokes his beard. I have to be careful. He's far from foolish. If I say I'm feeling poorly too often, I'll end up rushed off to the doctor and placed on a purgative diet or assigned calisthenics. Fortunately, it's been a while since I needed to make excuses, and Narago helps out with a distraction.
"Musicians," he sniffs. "Are we really to be imposed on by such vagabonds?" "These are quite reputable," Ophalo says, a little irritated. "I am assured—" I make it out into the corridor as they get into it, walking with the narrow, shuffling gait the kizun allows. I pass servants heading the other way, and smile at Irana, who's just a few years older than I am, and always wears a fresh flower pinned in her hair. She gives me a bow in return, and a smile where the older maids won't see. Back at my room, Bakala is waiting, and it takes me a few minutes to assure her I don't need a bath drawn, or my hair combed, or anything else for the evening. She departs, still sounding unconvinced, and slides the door closed behind her. Alone. At last. I let out a breath. My room is not the largest in the house, which still bothers Ophalo. When I was 12, he offered to vacate the master's suite for my use, but I declined. I could use the space.